The obvious question that comes up when talking about the Toy Story movies is, should they have stopped at Toy Story 3? I remember when Toy Story 4 came out, that was the conversation being had, and I heard this before I even followed the film critic world. I think reflecting on it 7 years later, it's still a complicated answer. Toy Story 4 is really good and serves as a nice addition to the franchise, but can also feel a little unnecessary. Now, Toy Story 5 has an even higher mountain to climb. Now you really have to show why it's worth doing one more film. So the question is, does Toy Story 5 stand alongside the other films and justify its own existence? Toy Story 5 follows Bonnie's Toys led by Jessie and Buzz Lightyear as they deal with the incoming invasion of tech devices disrupting other children, as Bonnie herself starts to turn over to the addiction of a new device called LilyPad. Initially from the trailers, I felt like the premise was a decade too late, and certain lines in the trailer felt preachy and out of touch. It felt like they were going to tell the story from the perspective of someone who doesn't fully understand the grasp of technology with developing children. Luckily, that isn't the case. The film tackles both the pros and cons of technology and children, and does so in some really smart ways. That's where the Pixar magic shines the most in the film, that extra layer of nuance that makes the lessons the film tells more complex. Technology isn't a black and white issue. This is shown with the new additions to the cast, starting with the central antagonist LilyPad, played by Greta Lee. LilyPad is the in-universe iPad that shifts Bonnie into her tech addiction. It isn't nefarious and serves more like a rival to the toys and their time with Bonnie. Then other new characters include some more smart devices, led by Conan O'Brien as Smarty Pants, who steals every scene he is in. Similar to every other Toy Story film, the new supporting cast members are always the standouts. It was interesting watching this film as someone who grew up on the tech invasion in homes the film talks about. In some ways, the messages can feel a little outdated, but I think this film would connect stronger with young kids in similar situations now, and parents trying to juggle raising their child without this technology while also fulfilling their desires to live in that world. I really enjoyed the way the film portrayed Bonnie's tech addiction. She isn't a total mindless zombie, but instead using these tools to try to fit in with other people. I thought this again was the nuanced Pixar of old. People aren't just addicted to technology, they sometimes feel like they need to be to fit in. The film tackles what it looks like to be on the outside of this tech invasion, from both the perspective of the toys and the children it's affecting. Speaking of the toys, I felt like it was a nice change of pace to have Jessie as the lead of the film. Recently watching Toy Story 4, I forgot how little she's even in that film, so it's nice to see her take the reins of the story, especially after Woody's arc felt fully complete after Toy Story 4. Jessie's story to me was the most emotional plotline of the movie, and I'm happy the marketing of the film left out most of its major moments and details. Going back to Woody for a second, it's pretty apparent he shouldn't be in the movie at all. Not only does it take some of the oomph out of Toy Story 4's ending, but he's absolutely nothing to do in the movie. The way he returns to the story is very lazy, and I found his jokes to be very stale. It feels like they brought back Woody just because they felt they needed to for fans, but I think this movie would honestly be better if he wasn't in it. It would have made Toy Story 4's ending even more impactful, seeing the series continue on without him. Another character with some lackluster treatment is Buzz Lightyear. He is relegated to a pretty cliche film stereotype for a lot of the movie, and once again feels like a character with not a lot to do. He serves as the leader of the toys once the group splits up when the first act finishes, and does have some of the best laughs of the film, but it's sad to see him play second fiddle for the fourth movie in a row. The C-plot of the film also involves a Buzz Lightyear staple seen in most of the other films, and it feels pretty apparent that they don't have much to say or do with the character, besides feeling the need to keep him in the franchise similar to Woody. While we're on the topic of characters, it feels like there's something else worth mentioning. This isn't necessarily a complaint, but man is this cast getting old. It's especially apparent in Joanne Cusack's Jessie, and it does take you out of the film a little bit when characters sound so different when in universe only a year or two have passed. It also has to sideline a lot of the original toys because of their voice actors having passed away. It's sad seeing the franchise carry on without them, being in that weird spot of not wanting to replace the actors, but while also keeping the characters silent the entire film. Talking about the C-plot a little more, it's where we get into some of the movie's problems. There is a lot of padding from this particular plotline, which takes a lot of time until it becomes important to the central story. It has some really funny moments, but even after it intersects with the main plotline, it still doesn't feel essential to the film. This is a problem with a lot of the movie. It feels undercooked, and doesn't have the clear, concise vision present in the other Toy Story films. The first half of the film had me really nervous. I wasn't sure the movie was building, and it hadn't yet developed the smarter aspects of its story. Even when things picked up in the second half, it didn't really even blow me away. It gets really close to hitting home runs on all of its plot lines and messages, but comes up a little short. It lacks that emotional core you want from Pixar that puts them in the highest echelon of film studios. The film itself also doesn't feel grand, which isn't something you want to hear from the fifth entry in one of the largest film franchises of all time. Toy Story 4 is easily the best looking film, so it's noticeable when in 7 years' time, 5 doesn't look as sharp or well directed. Some of the visuals are incredibly well detailed, but the film has a soft, sanitized look not present in the other films. Not to harp on 4 too much, but that movie has so much visual flair in its directing and presentation. The other Toy Story films outside of 5 also have these grand stories filled with unique locations that flesh out the world. Toy Story 1 has Pizza Planet and Sid's house, then 2 has Al's Toy Barn, the apartment building, and the airport. 3 has the daycare and all of its different rooms and sequences. Then 4 has the antique store and carnival. 5 is the one where they go to a different girl's house, and that's it. It feels like a longer version of one of the Toy Story TV specials from the 2010s. I didn't need the cast and story to go somewhere crazy, but it doesn't feel inventive or creative enough to warrant another Toy Story movie. It feels like this was the first draft of the film, and they went with the most cookie-cutter version of it. So when the visual identity, emotional core, and characterization is the weakest of the films, you have to wonder why. Why make this movie besides the money? You're commenting on a lot of your central ideas years too late, even if you do have interesting things to say about them. Now, I do think the Jessie plotline is the reason this film was made. I think someone pitched where to take her story, and that gave the film its ultimate green light. When her story came to its climax, I felt a feeling of relief that yeah, this movie probably was worth it, just for that story alone. Again, I can see a lot of people really connecting with the film's messages and the struggles children go through with this new technology that most people aren't really sure what to do with. Even with all my problems, I can't deny that I still had fun with this movie. While it might feel like the weakest link in the chain and doesn't fully justify its own existence, it still has just enough of that Pixar magic to make Toy Story 5 worth seeing.